Body shaming is a huge thing at the moment in society now, isn't it? Body shaming, you shouldn't body shame. You shouldn't be body shaming. Yeah, well, I think some people need the shame. I was watching a documentary on Netflix the other week. It was called Addicted to Food, and it was about the fattest people in the world. They used the term "can't leave the house fat," as if that was like a medical definition, you know? It was one of those documentaries that pretends to be all highbrow and interesting, when really it's just an excuse for you to watch and go, Jesus fucking Christ. There were people who were like confined to their room, confined to their bed, just huge masses of people who just, that was their life now, you know? And it's weird for me, it's a mindset thing. How do you put yourself in that situation? How do you do it to yourself? I mean, like, in order for you to get so fat that you physically can't leave the house, at some point you had to be so fat that you almost couldn't leave the house. And that wasn't enough of a fucking wake-up call. We've all had that thing from time to time. You know when you put on a pair of jeans that are a little bit too tight, or you look at yourself in the mirror, you're a little bit jowly, you think, I've got to lose some weight. Imagine, it's a whole different ballgame to be walking out of your own front door, feeling the sides of the door frame grating against your ribs, having to push through like your own house is giving birth to you. Then after that experience, to have the temerity to turn around and think to yourself, no, I think I've still got a fucking handle on this. And I get comments about my weight all the time, but it's fine, you laugh it off. The privilege of being able to eat whatever the fuck you want comes with consequences of people talking shit about you, but it's fine, innit? It's fine. Like, here's the thing. I'm a big fan of a compliment insult. You know when someone sets out to compliment you, but what they really do is insult you 10 times worse? I fucking love that. I used to do this thing on stage about me being kind of a fat gentleman and how that's affected the amount of sexual partners I've had. I'm well aware that if we were to do a survey of all the people in the room and who's had the most sexual partners, I'd come out somewhere near the bottom. But I'm fine with that. Because on the flip side of that, if we did a survey of all the people in the room and who's eating the most Battenberg cake, I'd run away with the fucker. Now I've been led to believe that from time to time, people regret their sexual partners. I have never regretted a piece of Battenberg cake and a wank. Providing it's done in that order. Anyway, I used to talk about that on stage, but I had to stop because a woman came up to me after a gig and gave me the greatest compliment insult I've ever had in my entire life. She made a point of finding me after the gig. She put her hand on my shoulder and she went, "Ah, listen, love, listen. Don't think that just because you're a bit fat, people won't want to have sex with you." And before I could say thank you, she backed that up with yeah. Because there's people out there with all different kinds of weird fetishes. And I'm quite happy to come on stage and tell you that, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm comfortable in my body, I am comfortable with who I am, and I think that's very important in this day and age. I mean, this whole size zero culture that we live in at the moment is bullshit. We only think that skinny is beautiful because that's what the media tells us to think. And it hasn't always been that way. In medieval times, they used to think that being fat was considered very attractive because it was a sign of wealth. It meant you could afford to eat whenever you wanted. You go back even further than that. The ancient Greeks used to think that the most desirable aspect a man could have was a small penis. That's why you see all the Greek statues with tiny little dicks, because they thought big ones were animalistic. And personally, I take great comfort in the knowledge that there's at least 2 other historical periods where I'd be considered quite the catch.